Each year, Microsoft Research hosts hundreds of influential speakers from around the world, including leading scientists, renowned experts in technology, book authors, and leading academics, and makes videos of these lectures freely available.
So the next talk is about massively empowered classrooms. As we saw, a lot of people have already been touched by it. Let me introduce Sid Prakash, or from your perspective, Santa Claus. Whatever you want from Microsoft Research India, Sid's the guy to go to. And so let me welcome Sid on the stage.
All right, so we'll do this talk in like two ways. So the first part of the talk, we'll do some fun stuff because many of you already know about MEC. So what we'll do is we'll kind of quiz you on what you've seen in MEC and how did you get to know about MEC, stuff that we did behind the scenes. And then second part, obviously, many of you would want to know why we are doing something like MEC, right? So I'll invite Sriram over to kind of give you an overview from a research standpoint and help you understand why we are doing what we are doing. Okay, so let me get started. So again, the fun part. Okay, so this part, we need your involvement. You have to give me answers, and let's see how well you guys know yourselves. So this is the question. Typically, how many hours do you spend online? And be honest about it. 20% is not hours, come on. 24 hours. Who said 24 hours? He was being honest, I must say. Okay, give me a more realistic. On average, what do you think on an average? Typically, how many hours does an engineering spend? Okay. So basically, you got the answer. Anything from 4 hours to, 24 hours. Now, interestingly, there was a study done a couple of years ago. So whatever I'm talking about here is not something we did, we found out. This was a study done by a very well-known, recognized institution, and this is what they found out. So do you see the red spike? What do you see? This is where you belong, right? So the study said very clearly that obviously a lot of people spend time online, especially 5+ hours online every day. But the biggest spike is from people like you, people like us. Now obviously let me complete. There's more to come. More interesting facts about yourselves. Wait. Now the next part of the study was, okay, you spend 5+ hours online every day. What do you do? I know a bad question to ask in a public forum, but even then, what do you do? Please use politically correct terms. What do you do? Okay, how many social media? How many of you think social media is the most popular thing online these days? Everybody. Okay, I shouldn't have asked that. Next, what do you think number 2? So you are right, yeah, number 1 is social media. Everybody kind of accepts the fact that social media is the thing online all the time. Second, what do you think? Okay, YouTube, what else? Forums, who said forums? Quora, okay. Good, so from the study, YouTube and online, watching videos online was very close to doing things on Skype, Gtalk, doing a lot of chats. So these form the top 3. Now surprisingly, we were expecting online learning also somewhere, right? We thought at least amongst the top 5 it will be there, but unfortunately it wasn't. But what was interesting was that finally, somewhere in the list of top 20-25 things, it was there. So people who look like this, the studious types, actually do spend time online. So how many of you, again a question, how many of you do some learning online? Half of you are confused. Do I not? Do I not? Yeah? Okay, good. So you're raising your hands, but out of those 5 hours, I'm sure 5 minutes every day is what you spend. So that's fine. That's fine. But you at least do something, right? So this was one of the motivations we had when we started looking at massively empowered classroom. And I won't explain the project in detail because that's what Sriram will do next. But then, when we started 2 years ago, something very interesting again happened. During the process of massively empowered classroom, I don't know how many things we discovered about you guys, things we subtly assumed, but they happened to be not true, and you will know why. So we started in 2012, and until June 2014, this is what we did. We took a very academic approach. Now many of you must be wondering what's an academic approach, right? So the ultimate objective was to reach out to you, to get you onto the portal and tell you there's something good coming your way, it's free, leverage it. So we went to your teachers, we did a lot of teacher workshops, we spoke to them and we told them that, why not you go to your students and tell them that something like this exists and they spend so much time online. This may be something productive and useful for them. Then we told you it's very important to learn concepts. How many of you learn concepts? Learn means real understanding. Try to understand things. Again, half the hands are like this. I know it's easy to crack exams the other way, but some of you do try to do it, right? So we tried to go out and give this message loud and clear that it's very important. And the entire industry, not only in India, everywhere else in the world, is saying that students today don't, get the real concepts. They just, do stuff and come for jobs. We even initiated supervised learnings. So we actually appointed some interns, some of your peers, some student partners, and made them go to your campus and, try and convince you that this thing exists, make use of it. Obviously, there were learnings as usual. You came back with answers. So this is very interesting. Okay, pay attention. To the first question, academic approach, this is what you told us. Thank you so much. Our college keeps on telling us things every day. There's another thing that is coming our way. We are not super interested, but yeah, you're doing a great job. Second question, concepts. You challenged us. What do you mean? Hello. We get distinctions and this and that, and you're saying that we don't learn concepts. We not only learn concepts, we mug them as well. We go and, mug the entire textbook and just rant it out on the exam papers and we score well. The last part, supervised learning. Again, right? All of you have commitments, post 5 p.m., staying in college, getting somebody to come help you, quite a task. You have to go to a coffee shop, cyber cafe, spend your 5+ hours online every day. So again, didn't work. So what we decided was that we thought we will flip it. We will, instead of us telling you what to do and how to do, we will listen to you and then figure out what can happen. So again, going back with all this effort, all these 3 key things that I listed out, what do you think the result was? You think we were like hugely successful? No, yeah, you are right. Because the result also said something like that. Only 15K students over the last, 3+ semesters on MEC. So based on this, as I said, we decided to flip it. And by the way, this is the look all of the researchers and us had when we saw those numbers after those 3 semesters went by, right? So June 2014 onwards, we flipped it. We decided to do something that you want and do it in the way you want. And you told us that give us rewards. Anytime you want us to spend, be it for us, be it for you, whatever it is, we understand it's good and all that, but you have to kind of give us a candy, an incentive to participate in something like that. We did that. We started giving away like cool stuff, right? A t-shirt, it's like such a big deal, isn't it? We gave t-shirts. We gave obviously big prizes. We ran a lot of contests. We actually did some coding contests as well. I mean, a lot of people participated. Prizes were big. I think that was one of the motivations why a lot of you participated. But then all that happened. And we started talking to you in the language you like and the way you like it, right? We started talking to, hey, what's up? There's something called as Massively Empowered Classroom. They're giving away t-shirts. Did you enroll? That one, right? Now, certainly, while we were doing this, I mean, Shriram will talk about that. We have a lot of other interesting studies that we kind of uncovered during the process. We introduced the most important thing, more free certifications, right? Certifications themselves are super important, and when the free word comes, anything works. So a lot of you started writing to us and you said, you know what, I watched 2.5 videos. Can you give me a letter saying I watched these 2.5 videos? So we said, sorry, we cannot do that, but yeah, we will at least give you a way of knowing. Your teachers, will give you a way for your teachers to know what you have done and how much you've moved. So we started doing all that, and obviously we introduced some more certifications. Recently we ran a referral campaign, and this was massive. I don't know what went so well, but this was massive. So we had some of your friends, some Microsoft student partners themselves, and we asked them to go and convince you and tell them that this is good. And it just flew off. I mean, you guys loved it. We had around 30,000 plus people register in like no time. There were obviously incentives for those kids who were working hard, the student partners and such people. But then you somehow liked it. So when we were telling you it's good, you never believed us. But when your friends came and told you, you probably did them a favor and joined us. We made an offline and a phone app available because that's another very important, on a serious note, and important learning we had over the last couple of years, that bandwidth seems to be a big issue in many of your colleges. You would prefer to kind of look at these video lectures while you are traveling in a bus or you're commuting to your college, in whichever way. So we made an offline version available where you can actually go ahead and download the entire MEC package, view them on demand, and later on, whenever you have time, go ahead and take the quizzes, because obviously certificates are very important, right? So to get the certificates, you have to do something, you log in, and you get them. Now, what do you think the result was on all of this? Good, bad, some prediction? I kind of gave it away, but even then, it was way beyond our expectations. Suddenly, from 15,000, we went to 100,000 people on MEC. So that is where we are currently, and what we have discovered during the process, as I said, is that just the content obviously is not what you want. You want a lot of other things packaged around the content. You want things to be presented to you in the way you like it, and that's what we are trying and we are going to try. And in the next semester, you will again see a lot of new changes, a lot of new campaigns, offline, online, a lot of other engagements that we'll do. So please go, spread the word after you get to know what MEC is inside out. So I'll invite Sriram over to come and talk to you about what MEC is from a research standpoint.
Oh boy, I don't think I can make research as interesting as what Sid was talking to you about. Let me try. Okay. So what I'm going to talk to you about is, you might wonder, why is a research lab interested in giving T-shirts, coffee mugs, and so on? What is our interest in doing this? Believe it or not, there is a lot of research behind doing things like that. Let me give you a flavor for what the research is. To start with, the context I want to give you is that there are in the past 2 or 3 years, there are these large number of MOOCs. They stand for massive open online courseware that have taken the world by storm, right? And then there's so many people, millions and millions of them have enrolled in edX, Coursera, and so on. And everyone, including us, thought that what a wonderful idea and how empowering this should be in environments like India, where there is such shortage of qualified faculty compared to the number of students we have in this country. So we had several focus groups. You would have seen me or Sid or Vidya. We may have even visited your college. Several of your teachers came to MSRI. We had focus groups and so on. And typically, we would ask questions like the following, right? Like Karnataka, for example, VTU has 230 colleges, right? And we did some polls. We would ask a question into a class. How many of you have heard about Coursera? So it turns out that 80% of the students never heard about them. And then we asked a question, right? How many of you have ever watched an online education video, right? I had the answer. Here, all of you have taken, I guess you watched a MEC video, but if I go to an audience that is not touched by our campaign, it is less than 3%. So we looked at several things about the Indian educational system. A particular thing that we decided to focus on is that universities like VTU have a common curriculum that is spread across hundreds of colleges. Right? When VTU has 230 colleges in this state, Tamil Nadu has 540 colleges, and so on. So one of the things we decided was why not, instead of making it as a separate thing from your class, which you all mentioned to Sid, that we already have a lot of work in our classroom, what benefit am I going to get by doing something else over and above what I should already be doing? So we decided that instead of keeping it as a separate thing, why don't we integrate it with your classroom? And I don't think we are fully successful in integrating yet, but I think we have gone some ways from where we started, which is that one of the first things we decided was that we'll at least sync the syllabus that your college is following, and we will help you do what you're already learning better. And we made a lot of effort working with the institutions, your teachers, so that this is something that works together with your institution rather than replacing your classroom and relying on individual motivation for you to take advantage of this, right? So I already said this. We tried to sync with your syllabus, and in addition to those kinds of things, right? Siddharth and others came up with so many ways to get your attention, which was extremely important. They did media campaigns, they did competitions, they did certificates, and we did certain things like we know that bandwidth is low. how do you address those kinds of things? And all of this was found by doing one deployment after the other, talking to you, finding out what are your pain points and fixing them. That's how we made progress, right? So Siddharth already gave you the punchline, but let me give you a little bit more details. We have been doing this for 4 semesters, and what happened was that the social media one was done in the last one. That's when we saw the bump of 75,000. But also our software and our platform evolved. It was very experimental. We put together something real quick, and then with every version, our software got better as well. So those things also helped. Okay. So now I'll tell you about what we learned from you. So Siddharth asked you lots of questions, like how many of you spend time online, what do you do, and so on. Let me ask you a question about MEC. How many of you take all the MEC quizzes honestly, and how many of you copy from your friend? I see stunned silence here. I'm not going to take a picture, right? So this is a very important question. It's an important question in online environments. How many people cheat? How many people copy by searching the web, and so on. So here is a study we did with you. We divided, some random population of the 100,000 people we have touched into 3 parts. 1/3 of the students did not get any honor code. So they just took the quizzes as is. 1/3 of them got this honor code. It says, I promise not to visit other websites, and you have to type it. How many of you remember doing this? Okay, I think you were there in the second 1/3. The third 1/3, we tried to scare you. We tried to write, if you cheat, something bad is going to happen. Right? How many of you remember that? How many of you remember typing that? They won't tell me. Okay. So then, now you must be wondering, how the hell are these guys going to figure out whether I cheat or not? So let me tell you about that a little bit later. But let me tell you that the first group in which we didn't show you anything, we find that about 1/3 of you cheated. And I'll ask you, how would we figure out whether you cheated or not? I'll ask you that question as well. And the fraction of you that got the honor code, a little bit less, and the one that got the severe warning, a lot less. How do you think we could do such a measurement? Guess. Pardon? Do you think we come and ask you a question? Did you cheat? Do you think you'll answer? Yeah? Pardon? Cookies, yes. I think we should give him a prize. Yeah? So that's what we did. Yeah. Thank you. So we seeded the web with actual answers, and we put honeypot websites, and if you click on them, you will get a timeout, and then we record your cookie. And so that's how we figured it out. But we never release individual names. We release only statistics. So please be assured, not a problem, right? Yeah. Okay. So the other interesting thing, which you may already know, is that we also know the ones that cheated and the ones that didn't, how did they actually perform? And this is probably not surprising to you, right? The ones that studied, you didn't have to cheat, and you got good scores. The ones that tried to search the web, partly also because there was a timeout in the website, so maybe you wasted time trying to find an answer. Maybe you found it elsewhere, but that's the answer, right? So that was actually, maybe somewhat useful, but let me tell you something that's far more useful. It's a very important question for us to figure out whether this kind of system has any positive effect at all. Does it actually improve learning? That's an extremely important question for us to find out, right? So how would you measure that? This is actually a question for you. Suppose you were like us, you were researchers, you were building these systems, and you have to find out, right? Jeanette is here. I have to somehow communicate to Jeanette that this is having some value. So one way is I could bring all 1,000 of you into the auditorium and ask you to clap if it provided value. Do you think I'll convince her if I do that? Maybe I'll give you a T-shirt at the end of it, and you clap anyway. I'm not so sure. So how would you measure? How would you measure if something like this has had an effect or not? What do you think? How would you measure it? Pardon? Yeah, after you complete your work, right, we can actually check how well you did, right, and see whether you did well or not, right? So I can probably do the following, right? I can actually, maybe we can talk to VTU, and then we can find out, oh, these are the students that took MEC, and look how well they did. And these are the students that didn't take MEC, and how well they did. Do you think that's a reasonable way to study whether MEC worked or not? Why? Because the ones that took MEC probably are already motivated, right? That's why you took it. You maybe are already smart, right? It's like saying, we have to be somehow fair in the way we do comparison, right? In fact, how many of you have heard about these things called randomized controlled trials, RCTs? Very few people put up. This is how you test if somebody comes up with a drug for a disease. How do you know whether it works, right? Suppose you give it to a certain kind of people. Maybe it works for them. How do you know that it actually really works, right? So the way you do randomized controlled trials is that you need to take populations that are identical in all aspects, right? So what we have to do is that in the case of something like an online education system, we have to find a population of students that are identical in all aspects, in motivation, in economic background, in the socioeconomic situation they are in, the kind of classroom they are in, the kind of classroom they're in, and then we have to divide you into half and half. And on one half, we have to administer the drug, which is MEC in this case. And one half, we have to just leave you alone. And then we have to give you an exam to find out what the relationship is. And the way in which we divide you into these groups has to be completely random. That's the only way in which the test would be, it would hold water. Right? Do you understand what I mean? So this is what we did. What we did was we worked with VTU, and we found out several aggregate past exam scores of colleges in the state. And we had a really good relationship with them, and they were very helpful in providing those scores to us, not with names of students, but with anonymizing the names of students. So because of that, we were able to identify colleges. We were able to group colleges into colleges with roughly similar capability based on several years of past scores. And then we divided the colleges into two halves at random. And one half of those colleges got a dose of MEC, which is that we actually hired an intern which went there and did like a teaching assistant kind of thing when he was there with you. How many of you know, what is the name of the guy? Nitish, right? How many of you know Nitish? Okay, at least he has come to some of you, right? So he might have seen him, in your labs, playing videos and making sure you watch these things and so on. That's what he did, right? So in half of them, half of you, I mean, there's several people outside of this room that participated in this experiment as well, right? So, and then we did a measurement. The measurement we did was, so how did it work? So control is the group that where we did not go all out and push MEC, and intervention is the one in which we had Nitish go and actively promote it. And what we found was that there was a observable improvement in the final exam scores between the group that got MEC and the one that didn't. We had such a huge sigh of relief. I think we should give ourselves a huge hand for this. Right? And we also did some statistics about CSE versus ISE, and we found that the improvement that people had in CSE, in ISE was more than the improvement that people had in CSE, and this tallies with other studies that have been done. We know that when students get enrolled in these colleges, the first preference is CSE. So the people that do well in their 12th standard and so on get into CSE, and only after CSE gets filled up, people go to ISE. And ISE students apparently, on an average, are weaker, and then they tended to do better with the intervention. The other thing that's interesting is that if you look at performance per question, so the y-axis here is the difference between the intervention and the control, which means the difference is big, which means that MEC made a big difference for these questions. So there are two questions which made the most difference. Can you guess what those questions, what kind of questions they were? Maybe you remember the exam. What are these questions? Maybe you don't remember. So these questions actually were coding questions. So they were not things that you could have memorized and written down. You had to actually use the concepts and actually write some code. And since we had so many lessons where we made you go through these videos, we made you do quizzes and so on. If you went through them, you had enough training that you could do something like this. Okay, that's the other thing. So I won't hold you for very long. So in summary, right, we learned so many things. We learned that context matters. We have to think about your syllabus. Bandwidth matters. Awareness matters. We need somebody like Siddharth spreading the message that this is a useful thing to do. Things like certificates and other incentives matter. And from a research perspective, we can do several interesting studies where we can really evaluate whether these things work. I didn't talk about some other things. We have researchers that some of the assignments you got, they were automatically generated by some researchers that know how to do these kinds of things. And there, it's a very interesting question as to whether we are being fair, in the sense that are some problems more difficult than the other problems, even though we automatically generate them. So we are in the process of studying all of those kinds of things, right? So I'm probably ahead of time, but I don't have anything more to say, so maybe I could finish early. So the call for action is that you know who we are. So tell your teachers to collaborate with us. Tell your friends to collaborate with us. If you want to do experiments, have ideas, come talk to us. We can collaborate and do them together. And Sid gave me a few more things to tell you. There's 4 courses already. There's a 5th one on linear algebra that is going to come online. And Sid has a lot more planning, a lot more plans on more fun things like contests and quizzes that they would do next semester. The referral program is going to be expanded. We are significantly thinking about faculty participation. So if you're a faculty member, you could come talk to us. We have several ideas on how to work with you better. And more rewards. Sid is also going to give you more rewards. So I'll close with that. Thank you.